Hello everybody, and welcome back to Hellbound Garage. Today is going to be kind of an interesting video. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to be able to film it. We are fixing a problem with the body of this car, and I will get into explaining that in just a minute. I originally did the fender flares for this car. I actually messed up on this rear fender when I cut the sheet metal. From the eye, especially with the current paint, you can't tell, but there's a big bow right in this area, because what had happened is I was cutting the metal and I thought I cut too far and I thought I screwed up, so I was like, screw it, and I just cut through both sheets of metal. Had I waited a little bit of time, I didn't realize there was like 3 sheets of metal where I was cutting at that point, and I cut through all of them, so I didn't leave myself like the fingers or the lip that everybody has to bend over when they're welding them back together. So I took a pair of vice grips and I tried to close the gap between the inner and outer panels, and I created a dent on this one side. So I need to fix that. I will show you a clip of the dent the best I can with a ruler. Alright, so I cut away the weld that I had in place, and this is the gap that I tried to fill after messing up the first time. And that's why, if you look, hear that pop? Yeah. Why I ever thought that was going to work, I don't know. Maybe I was just in a rush. So this is going to be my fix. If you don't know what this is TIG welding rod. And I'm going to be able to bend this and then be able to maybe stack 1 or 2 of these together to fill the gap and be able to still weld everything using my MIG welder and being able to melt the 2 layers of metal plus the rods and create a solid surface. Well, there it is. It actually took 3 of these guys in some of the areas on here to get enough surface where I could weld it together. The other benefit of having something like a welding rod or another material in here is it dissipated the heat a little bit more, and because the welding rod is thicker than the sheet metal of the Datsun, I was able to actually start my weld on the welding rod and then drag it to the sheet metal of the car, and that way I got a solid weld and I didn't have metal chasing away from where I was welding and creating a big problem that way. But as you can see, it's welded together. It's a little ugly. Unfortunately, even though I've done this once before, there still is like sealant and stuff inside of here from the factory. And it was catching on fire and everything else while welding this back together. So I ground it down, and I may go through some of these spots and try and cover them up a little better, or I may just seam seal it and then cavity wax on the other side. That way there's no chance of liquid getting in there and causing any issues in the future. Not that I really plan on driving this car when it's raining, but you never know. And just so you guys understand why I did this, you can now see that there's no real gap along the fender and the fender flare except in one spot, and that's because of how the fender flare was cut. But yeah, no longer oil can, no more flexibility, nice and solid. So I wasn't entirely sure what else I was going to put in this video besides fixing the fender, just because this week has been kind of slow. I've had a bunch of other things going on. But I inadvertently caused my next project. It was already on the list of things to do because I was getting to that point, but this made it happen a little sooner, and it involves these guys right here. So when I fixed the fender issue, I needed more room. I couldn't get in between the fender and the tire in order to do some grinding and welding that I needed to do, so I figured it would be a good time to take the wheels off. That way I had more room, and I was getting to a point where I was going to have to lift the car up anyways. So I got the exhaust off, I got the tires off, went to go put it on jack stands, and that's when this happened. Fun, right? Yeah, because there's nothing on the front end of this car. All the weight's in the rear of the car right now, and yeah, went to put it on jacks, and it decided to go like that. So the tires have been on the car for the last couple of days, just sitting on it because it was doing the teeter, and that was the only way to get enough weight on the front to stop that. So my next project for this video is going to be removing the rear suspension and diff and all that good jazz, because I'm getting to the point where I need to have that stuff removed anyways. Funny thing, when I put this car back together the way it currently is, knowing that it would all have to come back apart anyways, I did some redneck things like this. This is the pin that holds the e-brake cable onto the caliper, and this is what I had it held in place with, which is welding wire. So yeah, definitely a good thing I'm taking this car all the way back together, or taking this car all the way back apart.
I'll take a face full of pavement just to make a statement. I know there's no turning back. Oh God, adrenaline wasted, so mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll play it on your face to make you go take it back. I'll lose my shit, I go crazy when I'm mad. And now you go wish you would shut the fuck up real bad. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back.
Some people have already seen all these parts, but I'll go over it at a later date of what's actually here. But this is the part of the rear of the car that gets difficult to tear apart because things are overlapping, and unlike a lot of modern cars, there's no real subframe to these. It's a bunch of brackets. So I'll do my best to kind of show you what's going on, but I can't really guarantee anything.
I was built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on the gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna end.
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering. Negativity is a plague for the mentally weak. No mercy, all I got is working. Never stop searching, never quench the thirsty. I'm toxic and psychotic with this logic, you can't stop it. It's been chronic since I was a boy, so neurotic and chaotic. Built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas. No, never stop competing, yeah. I've been doing this, I'm on it. I just wanna be iconic, sipping on a gin and tonic. Got me going off when I'm on this topic, yeah. If I ever play, I want
it. That was most of the rear end being disassembled. I'll take all the weight off the car. There's like 4 or 5 bolts left in it, but I'm not gonna videotape that. So that'll do it for this video. On the next one, I don't know if I'll have the patch panel for the last spot of rust on the body, or if we're gonna work on the engine bay, or maybe I'll talk about that little guy in the box. It's a new toy I purchased, but we'll talk about that in a later one. Anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for the support. Till next time.